Welcome to Reston's African American Legacy Program. I'm Laverne Gill, and we have a program in store for you today. And so we're looking forward to talking to our many guests today and to share with you what we have learned about them. Right now we have with us Terry and John Blodger. Terry's name is really Arteria, but we call her Terry because we love her. And I think she'll let us do that today. And my co-host today is Gloria Durham. Gloria, aren't we proud of the Blodgers?
We love them. Yes, we're very proud of them.
Now, John, what brought you here to Reston?
Well, I transferred up here from Southern Virginia. I was working for the Bendix Corporation, in Newport News, Virginia, and they transferred me back up here to work in Arlington, Virginia. And that's what brought me to the Reston area. We decided that we didn't want to go back to Columbia, Maryland, where I had left from, to go to Southern Virginia. So we decided to look on this side of the river and come back to Virginia, and we found a place in the Herndon-Reston area. Okay.
So now, are you with Bendix?
Bendix Corporation, yes.
So are you an engineer?
No, my background was, my undergraduate degree was in chemistry. And,
chemistry.
Yeah, and I was in chemistry, but I had transferred careers from chemistry into human resources, and that's what I was doing for Bendix in Southern Virginia. Okay.
So then you went to what after Bendix?
Oh, after I left Bendix, I went to work for the Newspaper Association of America.
Yeah, that's what I remember you.
Yeah, I served as Vice President of Employee and Labor Relations for them and did consulting for about 1,400 different newspapers, okay, around the country. And so we did all kind of things from contract negotiations to wage and salary administration programs, management development, organization development programs. So this is what I was involved in when I went to work for them. Okay.
So did they have headquarters here?
Yeah, they had headquarters right here in Reston, right
Reston,
on Sunrise Valley, to be exact. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Now, Terry, while he was doing all of those things, you were doing things with the National Council for Negro Women.
Well, the main thing I was doing, my son started school that year, so I, of course, became a room mother and volunteer in everything that they needed volunteers in so I could keep an eye on him. But I also worked with the Red Cross on the Bloodmobile, and I did that. And I worked with the school until Kevin got out of elementary and went to junior high school. And then, of course, I was with the National Council of Negro Women. I really enjoyed that. I was treasurer one year, and I was then I was a financial secretary. I had different positions with them, and it was enjoyable.
Now, we're going to concentrate on you today, but we do want to mention that your son Kevin now owns a brewery.
Yes,
So
Kevin got to his third year in college and decided that he didn't want to go back to school. He wanted to do something. I had bought him the Christmas before. He'd asked me to get one of those little home brewing kits for him, and I did. And after that,
Against my wishes.
and then we ended up getting him 2 books. One was 4 something, the other one was 500. And then he went downtown and worked for a brewer who taught him the finer aspects. Of course, we were subsidizing him while he was doing this because, I mean, they paid him barely nothing while he was, learning. And then he got a job with the brewery in where was that?
Frederick, Maryland.
Frederick, Maryland. And then another brewery, somebody sought him out, and he went with this German brewery.
Gordon Beers.
Gordon Beers, and then that's how he ended up
in the business.
Naperville, Illinois.
Naperville, Illinois.
That's what I remember. He was in the Midwest, but we're not going to talk about him because we want to have him on the show. And I'm telling Pam yes, bring him on for the next generation.
He's really busy now. They're trying to get their beer into Virginia now. So he's doing that. In fact, he's bringing the baby down on Monday so we can keep him because he's got another meeting. So he's been running to these meetings, and they have events at the brewery.
But Terry, we're going to talk to him. We're going to talk about you now.
Okay.
So, so we don't want to steal Pam's thunder. But John, you with the Kappas, and you've been doing a number of things with the Kappas. I didn't want to, I know you have your red on, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, I've been a member of Kappa Alpha Psi now since 1953. I've been very active with them, served on the board of directors with the Alexander Fairfax Alumni Chapter. I've been their parliamentarian now for the last 15 years and served in that capacity and continue to serve in that capacity as the parliamentarian. And on the executive council of the chapter. Okay.
Well, a lot of people think of social organizations as social organizations, but your chapter has really done a lot with education and scholarships.
Yes, we have a foundation, and each year we keep 10 young men in college, and as long as they maintain their grades and keep them up, we will pay their tuition for up to 4 years, and so until they graduate. So we do that on a rotating basis. So if 2 graduate this year, we will add 2 more, but it's always a continuous number of 10 young men in college at all times that we are paying their tuition as long as they keep up their grades. Okay.
One of the things that I find interesting is that just a simple little gift or introduction into something caused your son to progress, and that was because you saw the interest and you gave your okay to it, that he was able to progress up to where he is now. And I think this is very important for so many people to see, that when kids ask about something, look at it and understand it and follow through with it.
Well, we're so thankful that you came in, knowing that you've done a lot of things. Not only that, but you've been in the religious community, founding churches.
Right.
And so we acknowledge that as well. So you have been an integral part of Reston's community, making the life in Reston a lot better for a lot of us who came later. We'd like to share with you our thanks for what you've done as a couple, because we know that without one, the other could not have done what they did.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having us. We're delighted to be here and to support this project.
And we thank you for joining us. And we'll be back with Reston's African American Legacy Program.
Hello and welcome back. It is my pleasure to welcome to our segment today Dr. James S. Burton. Dr. Burton is an environmental chemist who came to the Reston area back in the 60s or 70s. Why don't you tell us how you came here?
Came to Reston in about 1969, changing jobs from, I was working for Melpar, and I got a job with General Technologies Corporation that was located here in Reston, and this was my first introduction to Reston, and I fell in love with Reston because it reminded me of the college that I went to, which is Berea College, and it had diversity as well as taking care of the environment, and so that's what Reston is about, and that's why I fell in love with it.
Well, now you are president and founder of Enviro Decision Systems, LLC, right?
That's
a
right.
consulting firm. Tell us a little bit about the work that you've done, because you started that firm in 2001, right? But before that, you had a long tenure working in the federal government. So talk a little bit about the work that you did as an African-American scientist.
Well, my first job was with Melpar, as I said, after I graduated from Howard University as a chemist. And I worked also with the MITRE Corporation. And finally for the U.S. government. I came into the government at GS 16 level to take over Assistant Director for Research for the Office of Water Research and Technology.
And this was this during the Carter administration, or what?
I got my first job with the Ford administration.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
Before this, that's when I came into the government. It was under the Ford administration.
And you eventually spent some time right in Reston at the U.S. Geological Survey, correct?
Yes. Well, I moved to the USGS from downtown, from the Office of Water Research and Technology, and I worked in the Department of Interior. And then, after several years, moved to the U.S. Geological Survey in my job.
So I was interested when you told me that, because I used to live not too far from USGS, but what was it like? I mean, I imagine there weren't a whole lot of other African-American administrators at USGS when you came there. Is that the case?
I was the only one. I changed over to from the GS 16 level.
Right.
I went into the senior executive service.
So,
we had a choice under the Carter administration.
okay.
You either stay as a super grade or move into the senior executive service.
So what was that like, being the only African-American administrator at that organization at the time?
Well, I just did my job.
And then you've seen Reston go through all kinds of evolutions. I wanted to ask you, because you've been here so long and you've seen the changes, what is it about this community that really you love and endears you to it?
First of all, the environment, and also the amenities of Reston. For example, the culture here, the recreational facilities that we have, the ability to walk through the woods and just get lost in the woods, and the way that Reston keeps up the environment.
Now, tell me also a little bit about, I mean, we are living in the 21st century, and I know that African American scientists still are a little hard to come by. And I wonder, looking back over your own career and looking forward at where we're going, what do you think the country needs to do to create an environment where the pipeline for African Americans in science can widen? What do you think we're not doing right?
Well, we first of all, I think you have to start in the homes, and to get children interested in science. I think it's very, very helpful to have science fairs and the like. For example, back when I was coming along, now we were poverty, and what my father did was to give me a chemistry set.
And this was back in Kentucky, right?
Back in Kentucky.
Okay.
And that's what got me interested. I never had chemistry in high school and majored in, made a career of chemistry. But from that, just that one little thing of getting a chemistry set introduced me to chemistry. Also, we can, as scientists and as regular adults, sort of be role models to help our young people know that you don't have to be brilliant to be a scientist, but just have curiosity, and we can mentor our own the young people coming up, and show up at high schools and the like, and be available, and in our churches just be available to show that there are people who have done these things, although we're probably in a minority, but there's parts of us out there in the world.
Well, one of the other things I find so fascinating about you is that in addition to your endeavors in science, you are a wonderful musician, and I've had the pleasure of enjoying the sound of your resonant voice at church, but you've been active with the Reston Community Orchestra. Talk a little bit about why you have been involved with that organization, why you think it's important to support community organizations like that.
Well, I think it's a means of providing culture, and it's a means of giving back to society, and also to help our young people enjoy and also appreciate the culture of music. I was asked by Lord Kinzer to join the board and because I've been interested in music all of my career. But culture is very important, I think.
Well, and when did you talked about mentoring. Who excited your interest in music as a child?
Oh, well, it goes back to the church. A lady by the name of Mrs. Bennett used to take us when we were in elementary school. She started a children's choir. I guess it was more of a teenage choir. And that's where I started singing. Then in high school, I would join the chorus. But it starts, I think, with the church. And then at Berea College, I was the first black member of the Berea College choir there.
Well, we are excited that you've been able to do this, and we have a small token of appreciation for you for all the ways that you've helped us here in Reston and shared your many gifts. So I'm totally thrilled to have you come and be on the show. I know that you and your wife are planning to move to Huntsville sometime soon, so we will miss you, but we know that you will consider this your home forever, and we look forward to having you come back. Thank you all for watching us today, and we hope you'll come back.
Welcome back to Reston's African American Legacy Program. I'm Laverne Gill, and with me today is Gloria Durham as my co-host. And we're delighted to have as our guest today Marie and Colonel Lovett, longtime residents of Reston. And they are going to share with us not only what they've been doing since they've been in Reston, but what happened after they quit their first job, after they retired, because they're both very active in the community. Marie, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Well, we moved here in 1974, and at that time I was a teacher in education. I taught in Michigan, Massachusetts, and I retired from Langston Hughes here in Reston. And we spent most of our time, you know, growing up with the kids, growing up and what have you during that period.
You taught science.
I taught science, yes.
Because that's going to be important when we get to this next segment.
Okay.
What brought you here to Reston?
Well, we actually moved here. My husband was changing jobs. We were in Massachusetts at Lynn. You were at the Lynn plant. GE in Massachusetts, and that's why we moved.
Now, what's your field, Colonel?
Mechanical engineering. And we moved from Lynn, Massachusetts, where I was working for General Electric Aircraft Engine Group, and to join MITRE Corporation in McLean.
So you also did some teaching as well. Did you teach at Howard?
I taught at Howard in the mechanical engineering from 1977 to 1978. I mean to 1998, I'm sorry. About 20 years.
Oh, okay. Now, were you involved in robotics in some way?
Yeah, I was working for the Department of Commerce, National Institute of Standards and Technology, and we were putting together a flexible manufacturing cell, which consists of numerical control machine tools and lathes and robots. And I was the technical specialist for the flexible manufacturing cell.
So those early robotics.
Yes, and also we had a little demonstration robot, Hero, that I used to take around to the school systems to get the kids interested in robotics.
Now, Marie, you were also involved in starting a number of social organizations. You've been involved socially in Reston as well.
Quite a bit.
Were you with AKA or the Links or
Yeah,
which one?
AKA in particular. You see,
Oh, am I supposed to notice that? Okay.
I celebrated my 50th anniversary as an AKA, and I was one of the charter members for the group that's here in Reston. We started in 1976, and since then we've been involved in all kinds of service projects. We have an annual book signing, which is a fundraiser, and we're involved with helping the homeless, helping the girls at the probation house in Springfield, and packing meals for the hungry, and on and on and on.
Well, speaking of book signings,
Yes.
so now, after these wonderful careers in education and in science, Colonel, you've gone into the political realm, and you've become a self-published author.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us about this afterlife?
Okay. Well, I never really wanted to write, all of my life. I enjoyed teaching and things like that, but I loved reading. So that got me interested in writing once I retired. And I wanted to write about science fiction in a way that had enough truth to it to capture the imagination, and still for people to learn a lot about science that maybe they didn't know already. So my first book was called Ageless
Stem Cell Mystery.
Let's see if you
Yes.
remember.
Ageless Stem Cell
She
Mystery.
was,
I read it, so
I read it too. I'm just waiting for the next one to see what the answer was going to be. It's
yeah, a lot of
suspense,
people
yes.
told me they wanted a follow-up on that
Yes.
one.
Yes, it was very good.
But I did go into a different area for my second book. I wrote about asteroids. And the name of that was Asteroid Attack Hit by a Minor Planet. And I'm presently working on, it's untitled at this point, but I'm working on one about exploration of Mars and people settling on Mars. And then maybe I'll get back to
the answer to the other.
Ageless.
I think it's so fascinating that you've used your science background to write science fiction.
Right.
And to self-publish. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
And far away from science fiction is politics. So tell us.
Yeah, I would like to say that in the political world,
Yes.
what I've been doing is I have adopted some barbershops and beauty shops and a few bars. And what I do is I go around and I encourage people to update their registration and to get involved in voting and supporting candidates. And it got to the point that if I didn't come around for a couple of times, they say, "Where have you been?" One of the barber shops had a community outreach for his barber shop, and he asked me to bring a table and register people to vote. So I've done a lot of that, and people seem to appreciate it. I've done the other thing I've done is the canvassing, door-to-door canvassing, which I enjoy doing, because the advantage of that, I get that chance to see different communities that I haven't seen before. I get a chance to support candidates and help them get elected. One in particular, just a few Sundays ago, before the election, it was with Mark Warner in Vienna at Sue Langley's house. And we were talking about canvassing and getting involved. And for some reason, I spoke up to let people know, hey, canvassing is not that hard. We have target audience. Most people would tell you that I appreciate you being there. And Mark Warner came over next to me, and he really appreciated that. So yeah, we need all the help we can get.
One of the things that I found that about you that I thought was very interesting is when they had the health care issue, and you made familiarize yourself and was able to go out into the community and talk to people, and your appearance alone gave credit to what the program was all about, and I thought that was very interesting.
Last year I did that. It required about 50 hours of online training, and I gave up some Saturdays. We'd be down there for about 7 or 8 hours, sometimes on Sundays and sometimes during the week, working through the Northern Virginia Family Services. And this year I'm involved again. I had to go through recertification, and we'll be meeting at the BB&T Bank in Falls Church right off of 7 and Arlington Boulevard.
So you're one of the navigators.
Well, actually, we're not supposed to use that term.
Oh,
It's
New term.
certified application counselor,
okay.
but it's doing pretty
Navigate.
much the same thing.
Yeah.
They told us that this year.
Yeah, that was a kind of a loaded term.
Right.
Well, we won't get into that. That's why we don't talk politics.
I mean, they still have navigators, but they have a different sort of
Sort of
certification.
Well, Marie and Colonel, I have known you for quite some time, but I am always fascinated by the fact that you've got all of this energy to do these wonderful things after you've been retired. So we just want to just say thank you for what you've done for the community and give you a little token of our appreciation for what you have been able to do and accomplish.
Well,
Because we
Oh.
consider you Reston's
beautiful.
African-American.
Thank you.
legacy.
I
Thank
would
you
like to
very
say
much.
that it feels good to give back.
That's wonderful.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And this has been Reston's African-American Legacy Program. We certainly hope you'll join us again. I'm Laverne Gill, and until the next time, we'll see you.